Welcome to Hard Right, featuring Tex and myself, Devious, Dave Rose. Welcome, Tex. You might have to unmute yourself. Maybe you stepped away for a pee. That's perfectly fine. While we wait for my co-host, the Exalted One himself, we shall address those in the chat and thank them for spending their time here with us today. We've got It's the Costanza, It's Bry Guy, the lovely Ms. Tiff, and I'm sure more will be showing up. And yes, it looks like we've finally got you going.
Yes, sir. How are you, Mr. Rose? How's your day so far?
It's been a challenging one, but then again, we all have to put one foot in front of the other, do we not?
This is very true. What's up to the chat? Hope everybody's doing well. And I see my boy Costanza's in here, and we have a Tiff. I don't know you, but I hope you're doing well. And Bry Guy and others.
She's a lovely Tejana.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. That's always fun. Like I said, welcome to our new little endeavor here, and maybe we're here to shake things up for all the people who are too afraid or don't have the backbone to, tell a hard right truth. I think we can say that maybe.
Absolutely,
so,
absolutely.
We'll see what happens.
I think was our both sort of like a unconscious or unspoken understanding between the two of us, because I approached Tex the other day and I said,
right.
Let's do a show together. Let's just have fun. And, we've been on calls in the past and stuff, and we've traded barbs and such. We both shoot from the hip and speak bluntly, and we seem to kick it off, but also just seem to share a lot of different opinions, similarly. And, I just thought to myself, this would just be a good combination, at least to try out and such. But more importantly, I know that I've been able to get along with him and, talk about stuff that, basically Tex and I are winking at each other virtually during the show. We're talking about stuff, just mentioning things that nobody's aware of, but we're totally aware of. So I just thought that alone was an indication enough that we should at least be doing a show. And, we do guard our power levels, obviously, because that's what we're doing. But, considering that, we are sort of on the same page on so many different things, I thought, hey, let's just fucking throw caution to the wind. Always a dangerous thing when you deal with two outlaws and two renegades. And let's see how well it works out. Either way, I think this is going to be a fun time. And today's not scripted, structured, or anything like that. And Dave Rose likes his structure and such. But this is more so, we got two beautiful new leather easy chairs. And we're working them in, and you guys are here to witness it. You guys can ask us about anything you want, and you're going to witness the growth of probably what's going to be one of the greatest shows in this community.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, to speak for Dave and myself, it's like, to kind of reiterate in a different way here, you've heard us get kind of controversial, kind of touch on things, but I'm sure you listeners can always tell we're holding back a lot. And this is a project that we're obviously within certain limitations of the overlords of this medium, we have to work within. But we're going to just toe that line, just get about a toenail away from it. Just kind of give them the middle finger.
Yeah, we're definitely going to try to push.
Me personally, I'm really good at that. So
we're going to push things as close to the limit as possible. I've already outlined basically what has caused me to be struck in the past. So we know basically up to the point we can step up to. So, expect to get... And I do laugh when you say, controversial. But you're right in the sense that that's what people think. But you and I look at these sorts of things and we scoff. It's like, this is not controversy. Yeah. Maybe it would have been 40 years ago when we learned about it, sort of thing, or when it was revealed. But, it doesn't take a genius to fucking open a goddamn book. But, nowadays people are like, oh my God, that's shocking. Really? The Tuskegee experiments, where they utilized, I think it was polio and smallpox on black populations to sterilize them. No, if you
Yeah.
did the research, it's not shocking at all. But no, that's what they're going to call us. They're going to call us shocking and
Well,
controversial. That's why I called it. I suggested the idea hard right to Tex here, and he agreed. But like I think between us, we're just laughing at it because we talk about is not hard right. It's not our fault the leftists decided to
no,
go super
it's real life.
stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, to kind of just so we have to build a, level ground of who am I? I'm not conservative. I'm not Democrat, obviously. I don't fit within any of these standards because, to be real with y'all, none of these standards mean anything. If you say you're a conservative, you're just less democratic than what the other side is. So I want to be free. I want to be left alone. I don't want to be told what to do. I don't want you to kill my children. And I don't want you to poison me with your nonsense because, the things that our forefathers did that gave these little sissy boys the right to bitch about what their forefathers did makes me angry every time I think about it. Because if we hadn't done so many things, we could be a lot worse and look around the world and you know which countries I'm pointing at. Because in this world and times, independent thought and having a free mind to do as you see fit, that's not allowed anymore. Well, that's allowed in this part of the community. And this show will shock. You call us what you will, but we're going to call it successful. So you better buckle up. So,
and
good luck.
You mentioned, I just had it in the tip of my tongue. No, I don't remember.
It happens. It is what it is. I mean, to some people in this community, tribalism reigns in a lot of ways. But like I said, I'm an independent thinker. I go where I want and I do what I want with who I want. And I think there's a lot of other people that do that as well, but they're afraid to say anything. I'm not afraid.
Well, if they got your complexion, they are. They've got our complexion there, but we have other people.
They may have my complexion, but they don't have my backbone. Therein lies.
Well, that's true, but the thing is, though, you have people that don't share your complexion. They're more than willing to espouse that view, right, and they don't get criticized at all. But you love your people, and that's considered a crime.
To praise me being a white Texan male, because I'm not an American. I don't claim that name. I'm Texan. That whole America thing, it's not really working out too well. So let's just Texas get the hell out of that thing. But that may be something we could touch on later.
Well, Texans have always been basically their own sort of nation. So when people.
We're the only
when people
state
scoff
that
at the idea that they can separate, it's like, but they are basically their own nation. I mean, they could have easily separated in the past. They've got the ability to be, independent, like literally, and be self-sufficient. Don't discount the idea that A, Texans don't have their own national identity, and B, that they're not capable or willing to literally just dissect themselves from the Union and become their own country. Like, be very careful about what you wish for, because you may get it.
Well, and Dave, I'm sure you've probably heard this phrase somewhere down the road, but down here it's a popular phrase of American until we secede. And that is a phrase that is in the populace down here. It's not just the extremist. Even just your average, normal, typical Texan has that mindset. Texas is probably.
What about Austin? I heard they're very commie in Austin. So what about there?
Austin is pretty much California. Texans look at Austin the way that we do everywhere else.
Let's tell Kim Il Jong that fucking Austin is Washington.
Yes. Austin is. it's so liberal. It's not even blue. It's just a rainbow flag. It's not even like it is that far gone. I mean,
Wow.
the phrase of the city is "keep Austin weird."
Oh
Austin is the
God.
butthole of Texas, and any real Texan will tell you that it's horrible.
I'm sorry to
It
hear
is
that, dude.
absolutely awful. Oh, it's always been that way. I mean, because you have
Really?
the University
How
of
did
Texas
Alex Jones set up shop in Austin, and then realize it was a shithole? I mean, he must have been good at some point.
Well, if you go back in Alex Jones's history, he's from the DFW area, but they moved to Austin some years ago because I've even heard him talk about this on his show. Basically, this is where he's home. He's a Travis County boy. He loves the hills. He loves the setup. And he's just took a stand there. And for his purposes, doing the political stuff that he does, it really affords to him to be that close to all the action. So he can go to the governor's mansion or, the Capitol or whatever it might be. It's just, proximity and whatnot. So one of those things.
Tiff in the chat says Austin is the San Francisco of the South.
Tiff, you are 1,000% correct.
Yeah, I heard they're a little fruity down there in Austin. Yeah, she knows her shit.
The last time I was in Austin, we were on our way down to the Texas coast on vacation. And I'm not exaggerating or kidding when I say any of this. I pulled in to a 7-Eleven to get something to drink, and there was a guy driving a bicycle around wearing nothing but one of them little banana hammock type swimsuits.
Oh, God.
Just driving around town. Just like it, and nobody batted an eye. Nobody said, "Hey, how about some pants?"
Sounds like he was turning tricks or something.
I didn't stop to ask. I went in.
I certainly wouldn't. Maybe he wanted a hunt beef injection.
I was hoping he got hit by a bus, to be completely honest with you. But maybe who knows what happened to this poor lost soul, because there were no tan lines, and I'll just leave it at that to your imagination. But it was obviously a lifestyle what this man had chose for himself. So, hey, but Austin is what Austin is. So most Texans would prefer a wall be built around Austin and then just one around the whole state. So we can just kind of let that, suffer and die because it's awful.
Yeah, I bet.
Let's see. What is it? Costanza said Atlanta GA has a gay section. I've heard about that. I heard it was Joe Bob Briggs, the horror guy. He does a show on Shudder and stuff. And he used to do a show in Atlanta, and it's like a underground kind of thing that they have there in Atlanta. It seems like most big cities, that people of that mindset, that liberal kind of life, kind of flock to those cities. I mean, have you kind of noticed with this, or what? I mean, what is your experience with this?
Yeah, I'd have to think that there are many people with that mindset that go to these cities. They support their extreme leftist views. Like in Toronto, for example, I was living there. They're pushing for bicycle lanes on certain streets that are way too congested. They've got no way to implement them without it being a safety hazard. Yet other places, instead of having a regular sidewalk, they have one that's like 30 yards long. It's like, or thick or whatever. It's just like, it doesn't, and yet people continue to push like these bullshit policies. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, like I've seen the one thing in Toronto I always wanted to go see was kind of like the town square where the movie theaters and stuff are, where they do, is it called TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival?
Yeah, that's not necessarily in the center of the city, but there are several theaters that do show movies, but there's one called the Lightbox, which is owned by TIFF and not the lady in the chat. And basically you've got movies that are shown there as well. It's like it is apparently a really good installation for watching movies and stuff.
Yeah, they premiered the 2018 Halloween film there. Like that's where they had the world premiere of it. And
Really?
some of the video, yes, some of the video that I saw of the area, it looked really cool. But it looked like one of those places. It would be a day trip. I wouldn't want to stay any longer because
Uh,
I get too nervous when it's that big of a city. You know what I
it's not as bad as other cities. Certainly not as bad as New York. It's not as
mean?
loud
Oh, I could
either. Um, but it's not bad. Well,
right.
it's gotten worse since I left it. But I mean, you can. I don't know. There's some really nice places though, but that's the thing though is you go out to those nice places to the shitty places and they're really shitty. And like you
Yeah.
got the
Oh
leftists
yeah.
that are pushing their policies that obviously aren't working. Like, look, a new basketball court isn't gonna fucking work to fix that region. Okay, maybe you got to start fucking arresting not just
Oh
the
yeah.
criminals but the parents that harbor them in these ghetto regions. Again, it's government housing, which means it belongs to the taxpayer. And yet, if you've ever gone there,
Exactly.
which I have in a professional capacity to service internet connections, you see that they're literally treating it like shit. And again, that's my money that's gone to subsidize them. So I don't accept that whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it has to be held accountable.
Well, you're even seeing more government housing down here now in the country areas. What you're seeing now is these gigantic apartment complexes being built. And they're nice apartments. I mean, it's like a
Heh,
gated
give it
community
a few
type
years,
place.
bud. Give it a few years.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know exactly what's going to happen to these places. Like, if you were to look at them, it's got the nice gate around it, the swimming pool, and everything else. But rent there is like $200 a month if
Wow.
get on the government funding or whatever. And even in the apartments, I've had friends who live there. They're decent. Like, if you didn't know they were government housing, you would have no idea. But it's exactly as you said. The further these things go, the worse they're going to get because if we've been doing this little plan of let's just hand out everything because people need the help, they never get better. You never get off of it. You only
There's
continue
no
to get
incentive or
worse. I've had
motivation.
well, and it's just like dealing with, let's say, big pharma, for instance. If you have high blood pressure, they give you one medication, and then when you can't go to sleep because of it, they give you another and another and another and another.
Oh, but
And once they get you hooked on that nipple, you're done. You can't get off of it.
remember the side effects that come with that will require another drug. So now
Exactly.
your
That's the
insurance
whole
is
point.
paying $10,000 a month for all these drugs. Meanwhile, it would simply take a 5-minute walk every day, drinking tea instead of
Right.
coffee, avoiding refined sugar to within 30 days revert you to a healthy form. But that's too unprofitable for us to discuss.
Well, and that's the whole thing is like with these government handouts, because that's all they are. It's not a hand up, it's a handout. You never see a government program giving somebody a job and work boots. Let's give you, food stamps and free health care, if you want to call it that. And let's keep you on the teat just enough where, we tell you what doctors to go to, but,
And who to
you
vote
think
for?
you're living a free life.
And who to vote
Yeah,
for.
oh, exactly. Because if you vote for the wrong person, then these benefits are going to be took away.
Yep.
Your free phone, your free housing, your everything is hooked. Anybody who thinks slavery went away, that we beat it, you're a fool. It's only gotten worse and it took a different form.
Yeah,
So
1964 with Lyndon
every
B.
different ilk
Johnson.
are still hooked. Yeah. Well, just go back and look what LBJ said about hooking a certain variety of people and how they were going to treat them. Because
Well, no,
if
see,
you
you
ever
can
wonder
quote
what your
if you want to
Democrats really
quote that,
think,
you can quote that here because I certainly fucking will.
well,
I'll say it.
LBJ basically said, "Oh, I'll say it too." He said,
go.
"We'll have these niggers hooked for the next 4 generations or something like that."
For the
he
next
flat out
200
told you what he
years.
was gonna
We'll have these Negroes
For 200
voting Democrats for the next 200 years.
Yeah.
That's what Lyndon
But
B.
the
Johnson
Democrats here to
stated.
help. The Democrat is here to, they're of the people. They're very communistic. For them to say they're anti-communist, they're very communistic in so many ways. Anything that is social is all that is a nice word for communist. That's all that is when you really look into it.
Yeah, basically, if you want to dumb it down for the general populace, that's basically what it is. You might claim, oh,
Right.
that's dumbing it down.
Well,
Okay, well, that's what it is because
yeah,
that's exactly what it is.
100%.
Just nice words for communism.
And it's so sad that we have to dumb stuff down, but the reality of it is most people, it's like I told you earlier, most people never have an independent thought in their life. They wait till the 6 o'clock news at night to tell them what to think. Oh, well, the new blah, blah, blah is coming. You better get prepared and get worried about it. And then ultimately it ends up really being nothing. And you've worried about it for the last 2 weeks. And guess what? You're sheep. You have no thought. You have no backbone because the questioning part of you, the man, the intestinal fortitude you gave it away because it wasn't politically correct. Therein lies the problem. We call so many things that should be crimes politically correct because we don't want to offend anybody. A very smart man that he's passed on now, God rest his soul. But he used to say, once you start tolerating things, you can never stop. Basically, if you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile.
What was his name?
And we started tolerating Mr. Randy Baldwin. He was part of my church security team.
Oh.
He was one of the men who trained me. He was a military man. He was an Air Force veteran. Great Texan. He was a great American. And he shaped my life very much because I was already on the path, but he really informed me on what the world actually is, And of course, the left would call that radicalizing. Well, no, he was a truth teller. He was a God-fearing good man, a family man. And he saw the world for what it was. And that was one of the influences on my life. I can never repay him enough because, he was one of the last few that stood outside that proverbial Alamo until he fell. You know what I mean? So there's not a lot of people like that left.
That's true. That is true. A lot of people aren't willing to die for their convictions or at least stand up to them.
Right.
And
right.
To me, it blows me away because this is the way I was, raised. And we're like 8 years difference between us. I'm 42. You're, I think, 38.
Yeah, I'm 34. Yep.
You're 34.
No, I'm 34.
Okay, so yeah, about 8 years, right?
Yeah.
But yet we share the same convictions. And to me, this was something, and this is probably maybe because of the, just Texan nature. But with me, I remember the stuff when I was growing up that this was instilled in us. And yet I look at today's generation and wonder, what the fuck happened? Where is this sense of duty, this sense of honor? This sense of doing what's right, regardless of what the odds are, whoever you have to stand against, one against many. But where is this, decision to do what's necessary?
Well, there was a comment you made on Drew's last show when the guys were debating. They were debating the Kyle Rittenhouse part. And you had tagged me on the chat wall and said, hey, can you call in and straighten these guys out? Because if me as a Canadian have to do that, that's going to be very embarrassing. I laughed at that comment for it seemed like forever. Even when I recalled it later on, I still laughed about it. Because that's the sad state of affairs that we're in. And it's not that anybody on that panel was trying to soft shoe anything. It's just so many people are afraid to borrow a phrase here, take a hard right and take a stand because they're worried about canceled. What does that even mean? Who's going to cancel me? Does that mean I can't live life anymore? Oh, I can't be on the internet. I'm pretty sure I can. Twitter's Twitter has canceled me about 14 times, and guess what? I keep popping back up. So it obviously doesn't work very well because guess what? The current Twitter handle I have, it'll probably be took away at some point in time, and there will be another me there. So it is what it is. We're so worried about being shut down, canceled, told what we can and can't say. The pronouns constantly change. What's okay today will be wrong tomorrow. And if you use today's lingo tomorrow, you're a hate monger, you're a Nazi, you're a racist, you're a whichever ism they want to put on you, because that's all they know how to do. They're not an intelligent group. They think they are, but on reality, all they are groomers, they are manipulators, and they continue to change the board and keep stupid people. I think I've heard you use the term conservative. I think I've heard that in some of your previous videos.
Yep.
I think that's a very accurate term, and I appreciate that. And I've actually stolen that from time to time because it fits so many people in my own personal life.
Yep.
But it is a, and I'm even going to call out my own Texans because so many sit back and rest on their laurels and, oh, we're Texas, it'll never go that way. Well, that's only half true because anywhere can change. Go back and look at California 30 years ago. It wasn't what it is now. If we don't stand up, fight, say something, and defend like our forefathers did, we're going to lose everything. Because unfortunately, the monsters that we're dealing with, they're not human beings. They want to take your children. They want to take your rights. They want to take everything that they don't agree with. And if you don't appreciate and love their lifestyle, their choices, they want to shut you down. Well, I'm here to tell you right now, they don't determine my life. They don't get to determine what I feel is right, proper, or anything else. I don't care who you sleep with, but you don't get the right to make me love what you do. I don't care about anybody's sex life, what your gender is. Number one, if you're a transgender, you have a mental problem, not your body. God didn't put you in the wrong body. He put you in the right one. You need to get your head straight and maybe get off the dope or whatever you're doing.
No,
because,
this is the greatest and quickest way to discredit that argument. Either you were born that way, or you got to chop your dick off because you weren't born that way. Which one isn't there, degenerates?
Well, that's the thing. Why? Okay, and I've used this argument with people on the other side of if Johnny wants to cut his hand off because he doesn't want it anymore, you're going to go get him some help, right? You're going to, at least take him to somewhere to be evaluated, checked out. Is he high? Is he gone crazy? What's the problem? But no, if Johnny wants to cut off his pee-pee because now he wants to be Susie, we throw a parade for him? Where is the logic in this? Where is the line? This makes no sense to me. But so many people we have to praise because now it's a man, but it has a beard just like mine on his face. And I use the term half the time I use the term Frankenstein's monster because these people have ceased being human and they have turned into something else, which can turn into a whole transhumanism argument. That's a long, lengthy conversation.
Yes.
But there's a lot to unpack here, folks.
Well, yeah, certainly. And very, very often it's caused by Munchausen syndrome by proxy, where the mother usually is imposing these mental, these neuroses on their child. And, when they're very susceptible to this influence, they start to inhabit the behaviors that the mothers are trying to, put into them.
Well, the minute the man started to become emasculated by the woman and it was popularized, that's when the downfall happened. And to make my point here, I'm going to use TV shows as the measuring stick. Go back a few generations. You had Archie Bunker types. They were the man of their house. They led their home. They weren't the butt of the joke. Then slowly as we de-evolved into what we are now, you had, as much as I love Al Bundy, He was the butt of the joke. Look at the beginning of the show. What happens with Al? He sits down on the couch. He starts handing out money to his children, to his wife. The dog comes up and takes some money out of his hand, and he's sitting there miserable. He puts his hand in his pants like he's some sort of ape. Look at how Peg treats him. Look at The Simpsons, one of the most popular shows of all time. The longer the show got, the stupider Homer got, and Marge was the one keeping the house together.
And the best example is commercials.
Yes. Yeah, you couldn't be more right. It's masculine. I mean, just the term in and of itself, toxic masculinity. What about masculinity built this country? The Western male, the white male, built this country. Y'all don't want to hear all your slavery nonsense. That's a nonsensical argument that most people that talk about it don't even know what they're saying. If it wasn't for Western cultured men, we wouldn't be here today. They built this place. They made it what it is.
You wouldn't have split the atom. You wouldn't have split the atom without,
right.
Western culture. It's as simple as that.
Right. Anytime something is attacked, what's the first thing that they go after? The Western cultured male. And I even go as far to include places like Australia, where you have a very manly man type attitude. Go back to the last couple of years, and we all know with these strange occurrences that have been happening. Where have most of these places happened? They have happened in places where the Western cultured male ruled, founded, took over, and everything else. They don't attack places that they already control. They go after the places that there's a backbone and there's somebody who can stand up against them. It's ridiculous.
And it's
planned.
planned. And that
actually, it's a complete plan.
Well, it's funny though, because they're trying to discredit that actually right now on the news, where replacement theory is being scoffed at, like as if it's not something that we can prove. And all we have to do is literally say caloric plan. Caloric plan. That's as simple as that. I'm getting my memes ready to go here. So I might have to be showing some people this shit. But the fact is, this has been planned since prior to World War II. But it's exactly what, is reality. You can ignore it all you want, but it is there. And you've got people that made actual documentation that talk about specifically that. You go ahead, talk. I will try to find this image here.
Sure. Yeah. No, this, to bounce off what you were saying, the whole replacement theory, it's only a theory if it's not true. But if we go look at the American southern border, just in Texas alone, just because that's just what I know the best out here. So when you look at the amount of people that are flooding into this place, not all of these people stay in Texas.
Wait. What are you talking about? I mean, we got to secure Ukraine's borders, but what are you fucking thinking about securing the southern border? So, seriously, what the hell?
Ukraine border matters, but ours doesn't. Dave Rose. Well, what are you? You're talking nonsense.
No, I'm channeling Biden voters right now. That's what I'm doing. Channeling.
So you're telling me we need to spend trillions of dollars for war machines and everything else to go defend some other place that has no effect on us.
It's not just the White House that told me that. It's Fox News and CNBC. Because, there's clearly no collusion between those two, organizations, obviously.
I often wonder which one's more evil, mainstream media or the pretend politicians that get up in front of cameras and talk for them.
They're one and the same.
They're all part of the
same.
They're all part of the same machine. You look, I can equate Hollywood to mainstream media to the politicians. All of this is linked together. You don't have to dig very far to look into see that Hollywood is nothing but the indoctrination division of the CIA. They work hand in hand with mainstream media. Why do you think Obama, whenever he left out of office, he jumped right into a huge Netflix to help propagate more nonsense that has flooded all of our atmosphere, all of our life, to convince little boys and girls they're not what they say that they are. They're not what that God says they are, that they were told from birth, this is what we are. This is how we have flooded and poisoned our culture. And I mean, I'm a movie guy. I love scary movies. I mean, anybody who's watched anything about me knows this. But even I have to point out certain parts of films that I like. I mean, you look at Night of the Living Dead from 1968, and George Romero, God rest his soul, he created the original Night of the Living Dead. And that whole movie is about basically how bad we are. He even casted a black actor, Dwayne Jones. It was a happy accident whenever George wrote the character. He didn't envision a black man, but Dwayne Jones tried out for the role, and he took it as an opportunity to preach how bad black folks have it. Because if you've seen into the film, you know he gets shot even though he survives. There's so many things here.
I have to argue with that in the fact that I've always seen zombie movies as dehumanization, as the attempt to
I can agree with that.
convince people. Well, it's predictive programming as well, because we know that they've been trying to develop zombie type bioweapons for quite some time, and may have succeeded multiple times. But basically, why develop a drug when you can literally just chemtrail the skies and feed people fucking poison and all that shit? Because and give them CNN and all that shit. You'll make zombies that way much quicker than fucking spending money on fucking a bioweapon. But regardless, it's not like they haven't looked into that, and that is how gotta put this. I've seen that from the get-go. Any zombie movie, like when I first knew about zombies and all these movies and stuff, I'm like, but this is trying to dehumanize people. Like, and on top of that, I thought to myself, okay, well, you're killing, people are killing zombies left and right, but like, if there's a solution, maybe you can cure them. But more importantly, you're killing people indiscriminately, even though they're a zombie, like they were a human before. So it's a dehumanization process, which I think has been predictive programmed into the populace, into trying to convince people that if either something similar to this was to occur, or just to massage the brain into thinking, okay, these people are zombies. It doesn't necessarily need to be a bioweapon. It could be somebody that they think, oh, well, this person's a sheep. They don't listen. They're a conservative, so I'm going to just shoot them. It's the dehumanization process that I think is active in all zombie movies, and I think it's abhorrent. I know you like your horror stories. I know you like those. What's that?
A perfect example of everything you just said. Go watch The Walking Dead. One of the most popular TV shows of all time.
I've never seen that.
13 seasons now. Well, if you look, I guarantee you, if you were to sit down and watch it, you'd be bored halfway through. But when the show started out, it was everyday normal people. You had people of every ilk and variety. And it was the struggle of how do we deal with this if this was real. But if you look at the show now, I believe there's one straight white male that's left. And besides that, it's women, it's blacks, it's gays. That's all that's left. They have killed off every other major popular character besides Daryl. Him and Negan there's two popular straight white males that are left. And that's just because, honestly, if they kill them off, people will probably stop watching. But it is the perfect allegory for what we started out with to where we are now. To dehumanize, as you say, because it's exactly what it is. It's the zombie epidemic can be used for so many things depending on what you want it to be. If I were going to make a zombie movie, I could make it about how liberalism is bad. I mean, I'm sure everybody listening to me has heard me say that liberalism is a retardation. It is a mental illness, and I 100% believe that. If I had funding, I could make a movie about showing you that through the means of film. But unfortunately, people from our side, we don't get the opportunity or the ability to do these certain things, and they certainly wouldn't be pushed like they are if you're a left-leaning individual, because we don't fit the narrative. Only people from certain sides get their, for all this free speech that we're supposed to have, we're pretty silenced even down here in the States. It's not just Canada. We might be we're probably equal footing, actually. If you
Yeah,
really
but
have
at
to
least
look
you
at it.
can carry a hand cannon on your hip. I can't. I was
Yeah,
saying
I mean,
saying this to
yeah,
Tex earlier, is that at least in Texas he can take his cannon out for a walk like it was a dog. Here in Canada, you've got to be a little careful, you know.
right. Yeah, I don't go anywhere unarmed. I mean, that's just the way that I live. It's no secret. I've got more guns than I have family members, and if you want to know which ones I have, come kick in my door at 3 a.m. You'll find out. But that's neither here nor there.
And
But it's a lifestyle down here.
but I want to say one thing is that despite the stereotype that Canadians are pussies and we don't like firearms, um, we have our own Texas, and I mean, very possible they might end up seceding and joining the American Union. That's Alberta. They
Ooh,
literally are Canada's Texas.
oh, nice.
Yeah, they're
Okay,
like
I didn't know anything about this. I've never heard this before.
never. All right. Well,
Uh-uh.
yeah, there are a bunch of cowboys out there. Best beef, that you can find in North America, or well, that's debatable. You guys got some good places there in America.
Right.
Not getting into a beef war here.
Oh,
We gotta love. We have to share our love over beef. But yeah, basically, cowboys, guns, freedom, oil, and hating big government and imposition on them. So they've been talking about for many years to actually leave Canada, and that would cripple Canada's economy because they're what's called a have province. So so Quebec, the French, obviously cowards, fascist cowards. Well, they're fascist, but they're also socialistic. They're a very weird bunch, the French. But basically, they're a poor province that threatens ever so often to leave Canada. So what does every other province have to do? Is they've got to pay them off to shut the fuck up. So Alberta, being the richest province because of their oil revenues, has ended up paying close to, I don't know, $10 billion to
jeez.
Quebec, and yeah, like they're being sucked dry. This was the only province, or one of the few provinces, that actually got out of debt because of their natural resources and ended up starting to pay off their citizens with checks every month because they were doing so well because of their oil revenues. I mean, that's how a government is supposed to operate. But
Right.
yeah, basically the French are sucking the entire country dry, and they keep, threatening to separate and stuff. And Alberta's had just about enough, and they've been strongly considering leaving the Canadian Dominion. It's the Dominion of Canada officially, and joining
Well,
America as the 51st state. So
hey, God bless them. If that, I am all for
if they
freedom
do
and
that, I move there.
nationalism.
If they do that, I move there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. Why wouldn't you? You'd be a fool if you didn't. I mean,
Well, the weather's shit, but
nationalism.
I'd
Well,
rather honestly just move
what's
into America. I'd
bad
rather go
weather
to
or,
Texas or something, but maybe Florida, but
well,
a little
hey,
too humid in Florida.
you wouldn't be the only one that's coming here. I mean, there's a ton of people
Well,
coming
did
here.
did you
So,
actually know there are Canadians that are going to America right now and claiming refugee status because of what they've had to deal with? Like either their religion is not being
yes.
accepted or their political speech isn't being accepted, and they're actually applying for refugee status.
Well, when you've got a Prime Minister blackface up there pretending to be a good guy, I don't really blame him. I mean, when you look at, now, all cards on the table, my knowledge of Canadian politics is not the best. You'll have to go to Mr. Rose on that. But I know enough to know that it's just as bad, if not worse, than what we're dealing with President Craps' pants over here. And I have no issue with them claiming, actual true refugee status, not this nonsense we're getting on the southern border for people who are from countries that literally would have to take a boat to get here and then they walk across the border. It's kind of funny how that happens and nobody points it out or talks about it. But, we need some people on the right side here. We need some good people here. See. What is Tiff saying? Drag queens are modern day clowns. You see them on too. Oh, 100% Tiff. Non-binary people are modern day human. The more I see Tiff's comments, the more I'm liking her. I just got to shut you out.
Well, there's a lot of...
You've got a good
handle. She's definitely quite knowledgeable about things, quite based. There's quite a few Texans, not just in this community, but those that watch me.
Right.
You've got YR, yourself, you've got what's his name, Dr. Earl, you've got Tiff.
Right.
Oh, who else? There's another guy. I think it's Chino, friend of
Chino's
J's.
from Texas.
Yeah. There's a few more actually. I know because I thought about them earlier because I was like watching people in the chat. I was like, holy shit, there's a lot of people here. And I started to think, hey, there's a lot of people here from Texas. And then started to think, oh shit, you guys could have your own fucking meetup and be like 20 people there.
Yeah, I'm very happy that my people are represented well, and I will do whatever I can to make us look as good as possible. And unfortunately, somebody like me in certain areas of this community, no matter what words I say, it's took as racist because once again, people are stupid and they can't realize it's okay to be proud of who you are, even if you're of a paler complexion. That's okay these days, y'all. So just smarten up a little bit.
Yeah, that's something I was going to mention is that people are like, oh, you hate these people, this and that. It's like, no, first of all, I don't hate. But more importantly is that just like every other fucking group out there, I can love my people more than I love yours. And I will.
Right.
So no one's going to dictate to me on that one. And then, when you take a look at other people and point that out, say, okay, well, black people can love their race more than any other race. Why? Because it's their fucking race. It's tribalism. It's built into us. Exactly. Asians, the same thing. Hispanics, the same thing. So you're going to criticize me because I look like a cloud? I don't think so.
Well, I was listening to Alex Jones today, and they were actually talking about the replacement theory stuff. And they were showing Chuck Schumer, and he was actually speaking about it. And it's funny how a man who is fully Jew, he married a Jew. His whole bloodline is pure Jew blood.
Dual citizenship, by the way.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And he is talking about how good the mixing is, the this, the that, and how everyone should be doing. So once again, with so many things that we've seen over the last couple of years, it's rules for thee, not for me. You see all these people, including the American president, who, just in the not too distant past talked about how he didn't want public schools becoming a racial jungle. I forget the exact word.
Yeah, that's exactly the term he used. He didn't want a racial jungle. His kids going to a racial jungle.
All of these, Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer, all of these guys, they want they want their tribe. They don't want to be mixed, but they want to force everybody else to. They want everybody to be destroyed to the point of there's no more personal identity. And if you've ever read the book or watched the film 1984, we're living that right now. This has been plans for a long time. Look up George Soros for anybody who may not know who this man is. This man turned on his own people. He has been a pariah from day one. The New World Order is real. It's not a wrestling faction. It's a real thing that you need to be worrying about because they're coming after your children and everybody else. And unfortunately, they have a lot of them already. They haven't won completely, but all of these things are real. This isn't a Hollywood plot. This is real life. You better be prepared. They don't want people to be able to stand on their own feet. And unfortunately, there's only so much we can do. But you need to be able to hold your own within your abilities. Find a community of like-minded people. It's actually called a MAG, a mutual assistance group. I'm a member of one of these. Find a group of people within your local area or somewhat of an area close to you that you can lean upon, depend upon, that if bad times or bad things were to happen, they have your back. But mainstream society and culture would have you just blend. This whole, let's see, what's the term? The American melting pot.
Yeah.
I've always hated that phrase because it makes you give up who you are to become something you're never going to be. It makes me sick to even think about how people praise the melting pot. It's a joke. It's a clever little way to make you give up what made you who you are to become, like I said, something you'll never be. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Costanza says Chuck Jr. Chuck Jr. I don't know why I've never thought of that, but that's hilarious.
I've heard that term before, but yes, he is quite the money-grubbing individual.
Goodness.
I've also put up, I don't know if you've been watching the graphics that I've been putting up. I've been showing the Kalergi plan.
Yeah, I'm seeing, yeah.
Now the Wikipedia definition, the conspiracy theory of a New World Order, now it's all New World Order politics. Yeah, because since the, World Economic Forum and other groups are clearly just talking about a great reset publicly, as well as a New World Order, now it's perfectly fine. It's just like the whole UFO thing. Right. Well, yeah, of course we were always aware of unidentified aerial phenomena. No, guys, in Blue Book back in the 50s, like literally 70 years ago, you guys called them UFOs.
Project
and
Blue Book.
You ridiculed everyone that talked about them. And now you're flipping it around as if, you were always into this. Everyone that reported it was, being taken seriously, and you never ridiculed anyone or utilized, Project Mockingbird to, get the media to discredit people who were reporting about actual things. No.
Exactly. Well, there's so many of these things that started. Project Paperclip. After World War II, so many of these things really kicked off. Mockingbird, Blue Book, everything else from people within that group. And, it is shocking how most people have never done their research. They've never looked into anything. They have literally been messing with the culture, messing with the mindset of, once again, the Western culture that changed the entire world. They broke this whole monarchy system that we lived in for so long and everything else. And once we broke the mold, then go to your Civil War times, you had a group of people that saw what the North had became, and then they wanted to break free from that as well. So for me as a Southerner, because I had family who were Confederate soldiers, I had people who fought the Texas Revolution, everything else. If you go back to that point in time, that's when you started to see America become tyrannical, and it never went back. What the North did to the South, it wasn't about slaves. The Civil War had nothing to do about that. Hell, when Texas...
It was the War of Northern Aggression.
Yes. Texas did not even recognize slavery ownership. I'm not sure how many people even know this. Were there slaves here? Yes, of course there were, but guess what? There were still slaves in the North after the Civil War. People wake up. So tyrannical government is the problem here. It takes many forms. You go back to the monarchy days. Hell, up in Canada, y'all still deal with the monarchy nonsense, correct?
Yep. That
I
she's our
mean,
head of state.
does the
And
queen not still? Yeah.
what were you saying?
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead. I was listening. Yeah.
No, the queen is the head of state, and she chooses a representative who's the actual um, uh, head of the armed forces, and then after that comes the prime minister.
So the prime minister is nothing. It's he's a slightly higher elected official, basically. That's all he really
Basically, yep.
Okay, so he's the she's the property owner and she chooses who's going to be the janitor and maintain the place. That's really all the prime minister is. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, well
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
But it's so dumb. It's tyrannical governments. Government ain't here to protect you, serve you. It stopped being about that a long time ago. When you started having career politicians, that should have never been a thing. I don't care if it's America, Canada, or whatever it was. That position should never even exist because corruption, it has spread like wildfire. It's a cancer that we can't cut out at this point. You know, people talking about, oh, in 4 years in 2024, we're going to vote in Trump again and he's going to fix things. Well, how good did he really do the first time? He bent over for the Democrats. He pushed Project Warp Speed. And if you don't believe me, just go look at anything that it's ever said because he's so proud of it. He even makes fun of the you know what I'm talking about.
Anti-Pinchy.
Because he's so anti-pinch. Yeah, sorry, I forgot your word. I was about to say something else. You know, even he claims credit. He had the J&J company up on the stage whenever all this started, promoting them, how good they were, how they were going to save the day. And now look at where we are. We're telling people to not take their product because guess what? It kills you. Why? Because once again, government's not here to save. It's here to rule over and reign over and continue to have a stranglehold on everybody else. Freedom is an illusion. George Carlin got it right. They only want us smart enough to operate the machines, but not to know how everything actually works. You have to be asleep to believe in the American dream. It's a joke. Yes, down here you have more freedom. Like if you were to compare your list of freedoms to mine would be longer. But in reality, is that temporarily? We see the influx of California here. You know, people from New York are coming down to Tennessee and other places in the South. How much longer before our freedoms are took away? Now, we can look at these places and see how well their policies last. You know, New York and California are some of the most crime-ridden, filthy places. And, murder rates have never been higher. But remember, gun laws save people. Didn't we just see that in Buffalo with this shooting? You know, gun laws save people, right? I thought these were supposed to stop these things, but somehow they still happen. So, keep being socialized, keep being communist. Put whatever term you have to live with yourself, whether you're Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Obama, whoever you want to be. You're a communist warlord who you just want to have people just smart enough to go pull that vote handle for you or push that button, but not to be able to think for yourself. And that is the whole problem.
Absolutely.
What's up, Suburban Cowboy? Yeah, I'm so happy about NASCAR this weekend. I cannot wait for Sunday. Let's see, it's the Costanza says they're using white supremacy excuse. Oh, okay. Well, you want to get into white supremacy? Let's go ahead and rip that Band-Aid off. It's funny how many white supremacists are very dark complected. Have you noticed this, Dave Rose?
Well, I've looked at
that?
those that have been arrested and charged and stuff, and yes, very, very strange that they certainly don't have my complexion.
It's so stupid. White supremacy? You really think white supremacy is the problem? whites are more than happy to bend over and cuck out to whichever other race
America
they
doesn't
happen
have a
to
gun
have to
problem.
kiss the butt of. Yeah,
America doesn't have a gun problem.
no, of course not. We have a problem with mental retardation. We have a problem with mindset. We have a problem with stupid, like it's nobody's business. We have a problem with, oh, I can't say how I really feel because
No,
I'll
we
be
have a problem.
considered
Let's
racist.
just be blunt, okay? We have a problem with culture, and more.
Oh,
But let's start
yeah.
with culture,
Oh, yeah.
okay? 13% of the population, blacks, and you gotta have to, diminish it further because it's really not 13% of the population. It's literally black
Right.
males between the age of 14 to, I think it was about 40, 48. I can't remember. But okay, so that
Something
group,
like that.
very, very small, very, very small. Okay, so already we're talking about 13% of the population. We got to diminish it even further because we're talking about who's actually committing the crimes. It's about 5% of the population of the United States that is committing about 53% of all violent crimes, which include murder, rape,
Yeah.
robbery, and others. This
Oh, yeah.
is, well known for those that pay attention to statistics and know mathematics. Something that I would love to see if you would take the torch on from me and question Joe Cronin anytime that you're on a show with him, because I've tried to get him to go in a race debate with me, but you know how things work. You can't confront the elephant
Yeah.
in the room. But again,
that's the whole thing.
I challenge anybody. Again, all I'm doing is showing facts. I could be a computer. I'd be like, this is the information. Please address it. And you could say, computer, you're racist. I have no emotions. I'm just presenting the facts. So I would love for somebody, which is why I've always hoped that Joe Cronin would address it, but I kind of knew, where, he would go. That somebody address it. White, black, orange, plaid, blue, whatever. Somebody address this because the facts are there. Why is nobody addressing this sort of thing? Is it too difficult? Does it make somebody sound racist by literally just bringing up facts? Okay, if that's what you want to think of me, but my question still remains, why is this happening? Why is there such a large amount of absent fathers in black households? Could this not be adding
Yeah.
to the problem? Oh, yeah, if we notice these studies, yeah, we do notice that regardless of race, an absent father will cause problems with the raising of a child. I don't even have kids, but I've read the fucking information on this shit. So why is this so difficult, Tex? Why is this so difficult for people to understand? Are they scared? Are they cowards?
I don't think it's obviously not difficult. I think it's what I said earlier. People are afraid to point out the truth because the truth doesn't fit a certain narrative. Even the aforementioned Joe Cronin, who I'm friends with, I like, I talk to him regular. Even he put out a tweet today about
Oh God,
a black male who committed a violent crime against a group of Asian women down here in Dallas, and the media, even he had finally called it out, and I responded, well, it doesn't fit the agenda to speak on the crimes of a black man because look at who we're dealing with. We're dealing with a president that literally got in based on the whole, oh, I'm going to pick a black woman vice president. Black Lives Matter. Until they didn't matter, whenever they completely disavowed any acknowledgement of them to the point where that organization basically was ready to string them up themselves. And we don't want to point out the plight of the black man in America because we have to kiss the butt of the black man because we owe reparations. We owe this. We owe that.
Hold on. Oh, wait. As a Southerner, well, not just a Southerner, as an American as well, and a Texan. Um, okay, well, how much blood was shed during the Civil War? Uh, could that not be
It was
considered
a very bloody battle.
reparations? To
Right,
free an entire race in a country,
right.
could that not be considered reparations? I mean, if you want to
Well,
take a look at, well, okay, well
as
then
a
let's add
Texas,
affirmative action, because if truly,
right,
again, if you truly were confident with your abilities, you don't need a leg up, you don't need any help,
right,
because you recognize already
right,
about 800,000 people died. Well, actually, it was more than that. In the Civil War, close to 450,000 people died on the Union side to free blacks.
right.
And the amount of the economic damage, people don't even consider this. Do people even ever think about the economic damage? Like, America was on its way up prior to the Civil War. The damage
Well,
economically that America took, and they rebounded amazingly.
certain parts of America were on their way up. Certain other parts were being
Yeah, but
choked out to the point of
but
barely
Tex,
existing.
a war of that extent that consumed all these
Mhm.
resources set the country back
Right.
decades. And yet somehow America was
Oh,
able to
100%.
bounce back quick and then become the premier innovator of technologies and innovations that
Right.
surpassed Europe. So
Yeah.
again, if we're going to talk about reparations, if you really want to calculate it with affirmative action and many other things, I've seen estimates about 10 trillion that blacks owe to white Americans. So, if we're really going to
You
get
know,
technical,
for a compare and contrast, I'm going to use the Mexicans as the other side of this coin.
I thought you were going to say
And
use them as the
you
help,
know,
but
well, we do that too. But hell, they're good workers. What are you going to do? So, but you know, when Texas was part of Mexico, my people were here in Texas while it was still Mexico. I go back. I'm a seventh generation Texan. My blood runs deep here, and whenever the white Texans beat Mexico in 1836, you don't see Mexicans running around give us reparations, give us this. What do you see them do? They know how the rule of the land dictates how things go. To the victor go the spoils. We didn't want to be Mexico. Now, unfortunately, we still have to deal with their problems down here with their constant influx of illegals, drugs, criminals, because whenever Donald Trump was first running for president and he said the things that he did about Mexico, that inspired me to vote for the man. Now, once he got the office, he changed, obviously. But it's the point of you look at blacks, and it's as you said, reparations. I'm pretty sure we've paid tenfold as whichever number you happen to throw on it, because we go back to LBJ in this very conversation. They have hooked these people, these blacks. They have a victimhood mindset, and I use hood intentionally there, by the way, because look at where these people live. They live in the ghettos. They live in the bad part of town. They live on the south side of town. Now, some of them get out. Some of them better themselves. And you would think with as many opportunities that we have afforded the black culture, the black lifestyle, we praise them and everything. Every bit of popular music these days has been flooded with their nonsense rap garbage. You see white people rapping, it is everywhere. It makes me sick to see what white culture has become. It's not okay to be white anymore in so many people's eyes. And it makes me weep for the future because, I'm a father. I have two teenage daughters. I want my daughters to meet good, strong white men and continue the bloodline, the tradition.
Well, careful
I want
there.
my
Careful
grandkids to
though.
look like.
Careful. It's perfectly fine for Asians to say that they want their grandchildren to look Asian. It's perfectly fine for blacks to want their grandchildren to
Right.
look black. It's perfectly fine
Hmm.
for Hispanics to want their kids to look Hispanic, but it's not right for whites to want their kids to look
Oh man.
white or their grandkids to look right white.
So does that mean I'm canceled now? Crap. I
No,
guess
it
I'm done.
means
I
that
guess I'll just go kill myself.
it means more so that the lie has been dispelled, and we see the emperor
Right.
with no clothes. Again, I showed the images of the Kalergi plan. Anybody that doubts white replacement
Exactly.
theory is ignorant to the facts.
100%.
Again, if you want the breakdown, look up Kalergi. But all you really have to do is, for example, uh, I don't know, look up critical race theory. That's just the tip of the
Exactly.
iceberg of Kalergi plan. That is purposely trying to
Yep.
cause racial dissent between all the different races, not just blacks and whites, but between Asians and other people. And again, can somebody explain to me, hello, somebody out there in the chat, can somebody explain to me why there have been so many hate crimes? Because again, we've got to use that word because any crime really is
Right.
a hate crime, is it not? Yes. But, again, we've got political correctness infused in our justice system, which is totally wrong. But, okay, can somebody explain why there's been so many attacks on Asians, Orientals, which is the appropriate word, not Asians, because Asia is a fucking
Yes.
continent, and you got Tamils, and I love Tamils, but they're blacker than fucking the blackest black of Africa, okay? Really
Right.
nice people. I love their culture, love their food. Then you've got fucking people in Afghanistan that look whiter than I do and have blue eyes. Okay, so explain that to me. And then you've got people in, say, I don't know, Hong Kong, whose skin actually does look yellow. And then you move a little more north, and you've got the Han, the Chinese Han, and their skin is white as porcelain. Or you go to the Koreans, and their skin is white as snow. Or the Japanese. So, well, the Japanese also have varying skin colors. But the point is that we've got to be a little more specific on this, shall we not?
Right. Well, it's like you said, and
It's inappropriate
there.
for me to
I
use
saw a T-shirt.
accurate words. I'm sorry. Using
I
Oriental
saw.
and
No, yeah, no. I'm trying to remember where exactly I saw this. It was either a T-shirt or a bumper sticker that I saw a guy wearing, and it was kind of ironic because it was a black T-shirt, but in big white letters it says "It's okay to be white." And that's all it said. Nothing more. Just a ironic little phrase that somebody threw on a T-shirt, probably sold on Etsy or some nonsense, and it made me laugh because we have de-evolved to a point of we have to tell ourselves it's okay to be who God intended us to be. I love Mexican culture. Hell, I had Mexican food for lunch today. It is delicious.
cultural
I eat
appropriation.
barbecue or Mexican. Well,
Meanwhile,
see,
no, but that's
they
the
weren't
thing though.
mentioning about.
Only white liberal women and colored, yes, I'm saying colored lesbians would say
Well,
that.
they're colored.
Why?
Yeah,
Because again,
yeah,
I'm an immigrant. I'm of Hispanic descent, and I've heard this from
right,
many other people like myself, and not just Hispanics. Basically, anybody says, "Oh my God, somebody likes my culture. Somebody likes the food that my culture makes. Oh, this is such a great opportunity for me to share all this stuff that I love." Nobody gives a fuck about like, oh, cultural appropriation unless they're one of these mentally
right,
ill fucking libtards or conservatives. The fact is, most people, regardless of ethnicity, would say this person likes my food, likes the stuff I like. I'm gonna fucking show them the
right,
world. And it's happened to me too.
right.
It's just, I've had, friends and stuff or, gone to, I don't know, restaurants or whatever. But like, I really like this. Oh, you really like this? Would you want to try something else? Traditional? Yeah, why
Right.
not? Sure.
Even people even look at like let's kind of divert here. Look at typical black Southern food. fried chicken, watermelon, all, grits, all of these things, right? Guess
I
what?
love
I
all that
love every
stuff.
one of
And that's not
I love
exclusively black
every
either. I don't
one.
like that when people are like, oh, a
Right,
fried chicken. It's like, well, hold on. Are you telling me
right,
that blacks are the only ones that get the fucking ability to claim
right,
exclusivity over fried chicken? Because I don't think so, man. Like, I
right.
love my fried chicken.
Yeah. It's a Southern food. And that's what, like,
Dude,
I don't know if you've ever been to
yo,
Texas and tried out.
oil frying food has been used for thousands of years. Okay? So,
Right,
whatever it is that you put in there, humanity's been doing it for a long time. So it's not exclusive
right.
to any race. It's any race that was smart enough to say, hey, I could put oil in a pan, heat it up, and then put meat in there and fry it up and make it taste delicious. It was the one that benefited from that.
I mean, arguably, probably the most popular dish in the state of Texas is the chicken fried steak. And it is absolutely delicious. I love me some chicken fried steak. And you just take your steak and chicken fried, dump a bunch of gravy on top of
Now,
it. Everybody
you're going to have
loves
to
it.
explain this
People,
to me because I don't
it's
understand
amazing.
the whole naming. Chicken fried steak. So is it chicken or is it
Uh-huh.
steak?
Well, if it's chicken fried steak, you literally take a round steak, and you pound it out
What
till it's
kind
more
of,
of an
well, hold on, what kind
oblong
of cut?
shape.
What kind of cut?
Just a cheap, inexpensive round steak. You can use really any kind you want. It doesn't matter. The kind of steak is versatile. Well,
Okay.
I've seen people, typically sirloin you see used more than anything because it's kind of a cheaper cut down.
Okay.
But
So you pound the shit
you
out of
pound it
that?
out till it's thin, and then you just cover it in batter. Flour, egg. Go back and forth as many times as you want, however crunchy you want it. And then you literally put it into a pan of oil, and you literally chicken fry a steak.
What
Now,
is
if it says chicken fried
why is it
chicken,
chicken fry? Where's the chicken coming in? Explain it to a dumb Canadian.
because stereotypically, like if you say fried chicken, you know what I'm talking about, right? So the fried part would refer to the method of cooking, and chicken is the meat inside of it. So if you come down to a restaurant down here and you see chicken fried chicken, you're going to see fried chicken. That's what you're going to get in whichever form they present it. But if it says chicken fried steak, everybody has the complex of how you fry chicken, but we do it with a piece of beef instead of chicken. So you're just replacing the meat inside is all that you're
Interesting.
doing. Yeah, it's
I'm willing to try it out.
if you ever get the chance, go to the State Fair of Texas in Dallas in the fall. You will see fried everything.
I've seen.
They have
I
fried
like watching
candy
videos.
bars.
Yeah.
You can get a fried. Somehow Texans discovered how to chicken fry ice cream, and that one still blows my mind.
But the
I'm still not
Mexicans have
sure.
had fried ice cream. I mean, I remember going to Chi-Chi's when I was young. I don't know if you ever checked out Chi-Chi's, but they had fried ice cream.
I don't think I've ever had it. I don't know.
They
you can
closed.
get deep fried beer. You can get deep
Never
fried
seen
beer
that
down
before.
here. They fry. You can get chicken fried bacon. Chicken fried bacon is delicious. It is horrible for you, but it is absolutely delicious.
You only
I
live
mean,
once.
it's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those meals that you want to make sure you eat it while you're walking. Otherwise, your heart might just shut down if you sit down while you have to eat. But it's like down here you can get pickled, like I'm sure you've had fried pickles, right? Well,
Yeah.
now they have pickle fries that are like in the shape of a French fry, but it's like a sliver of a pickle. So fried food is a Southern culture thing. We have pretty much mastered it down here. I don't know how it is up there or what, but you ever want some good food? It's like Costanza said, Tex-Mex is popular down here. It's a whole thing. It's a whole different culture. It's great. I love every minute of it.
I'm sure.
It's all good. It's very sad to see it, there was something I wanted to touch on earlier before we start talking about delicious food. But as far as speaking for other people, there's one thing that I think needs to be mentioned on the pilot episode of this venture. Speaking for others, I don't know how you feel about this, but I've always found it problematic. It's always generally the same group that wants to speak for everybody. You know, even somebody from the other side of the road, Malcolm X, he spoke about be careful of the white liberal. You know, even he was smart enough to see this group is problematic. All those years ago, even he called it out, wrote it down, said it publicly, everything
He certainly
else.
didn't witness a woman getting raped and laughed as his associates raped her,
Right.
unlike Martin Luther King Jr., which apparently many people don't seem to be aware of or they're willing to ignore.
People want to. It's, you know, you're not allowed to say, you know, what Martin Luther King actually was, because, you know, he's one of those people. The idea of him is much more powerful than what the man actually was.
Absolutely.
I've always looked at him as a figurehead over anything else, because the people actually, he was a very communistic man.
He was a communist. He was a registered communist.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. And so many people, once again, don't speak on that because this is bad, la di da. So many people are afraid to tell the truth. They don't want their bubble burst because they can't have truth brought to light. That's the problem in this world. We're so scared to take that hard right and tell the truth because we're going to upset people. It might affect our pocketbook. It might make it hard for us to go get coffee or something else. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It's one of those things.
Absolutely. So,
I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was just saying. It's a crazy world that we live in.
Yeah, definitely quite the challenge to live in this current world with all this crazy shit that's going on. But I think we're going to end in about 4 minutes or so, just to leave it at 1 hour, 30 minutes. I think we've done good. We could probably go on for quite some time, but, you know.
Oh, yeah. There's always something to be said.
This is the pilot after all, so, you know, we are testing a few things out.
Yeah. For those watching, drop in the comments some topics you might want to hear that you would be interested to see us devolve upon and kind of get our 2 cents worth, you know, and make sure to obviously hit that like button, you know, do all the things that you're supposed to do on a YouTube show. I'm not going to pretend like I'm a YouTube professional, but, you know, I can try. You know, I can play one on TV.
I only play one on YouTube.
So, you know, like I said, hit that like button, share it around, tell your friends. Because what this is going to be is something that this community, this YouTube world doesn't have. We're going to bridge the gap and fill the empty slot here.
We're gonna speak the words that many are too scared to speak. Again, you've heard us tonight. Me and Tex have no qualms, no problems. Literally just going right to it. And there's many more things that we're more than willing to talk about, uninhibited, and again, shoot from the hip.
Oh yeah.
You know, Tex is a cowboy from Texas, and I am a gaucho from Argentina. So similar. Again, gauchos are the Argentine equivalent to a cowboy.
Well,
but
they're just to say that the cowboy culture was highly influenced by the Argentinian as well, to the point where they're still big into the pro rodeo scene to this day.
Really?
Like if you look at some of the best bull riders in the world, there's a lot of them that come from that neck of the woods. So there's a lot
that
more
I did not know.
Most people wouldn't even realize.
They've got something called the Doma, which is like, okay, so I guess it's like a rodeo, but it's like the big competition between gauchos in Argentina. And like, okay, so imagine this, like Okay, instead of a fucking a knight with a lancet that is trying to get a ring on a pole, they're using like a basically a knife. It's like really thin and small, and they've got to like get a ring that literally is, I don't know, the size of when you do an OK symbol or something on your hand. So they've got to be able to, do that. They've got the rodeos where they've got to ride, stallions that aren't aren't domesticated.
Right.
A lot of different activities that are very similar to what you would find with typical cowboy culture, but it's the Argentinian version,
Well,
and even things like
there's a lot of
good.
there's a lot of you know there's a lot of it's like suburban cowboy mentioned. Brazil is half the riders. If you look at the PBR, there's a ton of them from there. Texas culture is it's like a amalgamation of a lot of things, and a big portion of that comes from south of the border. And I mean, even Tejano music these days that has influences from the white and the brown people come together to make some very interesting stuff. And like I said, there's a lot more mixing down here than I think a lot of people even realize. And everybody thinks, oh, it's just, you just like white people. Well, you have no idea what you're talking about. I have friends of all creed and color and everything else. It's like you said earlier, I don't hate one race in particular. I hate stupid. Stupid is a problem.
Yeah.
And what this little venture right here, this is going to break a lot of barriers. It's going to shock a lot of people and piss a lot of people off. And I love every second of it and every option of it. So there will be more, I promise.
Yeah, certainly. And I have no problem to also voice my opinion. But we got two cowboys. We got a
Yes,
northern
sir.
cowboy and a
I
southern
look
cowboy.
forward to it.
And
Yes, sir.
I gotta regale you with stories of the gauchos because I think you'll like them. Because there were
I
some
can't wait.
badass dudes, and guns weren't as accessible to them, but they made do,
Right.
and the fights that they would get into were quite dirty and stuff. But we'll talk about that on a future episode. But regardless, I think today, sorry, go ahead.
Costanza says, get the backup channel ready in case communist YouTube shuts it down.
Yeah, I've got that backup channel always ready. But I think we did a good job.
And no, Costanza, it's not going to be all politics. Who knows? We haven't even had we've yet to have a sit down discussion about what this is going to be. This is literally the pilot. Y'all are seeing the formula be tested in front of you,
Exactly.
like Dave illustrated it.
Exactly. And again,
So.
we could do a full episode just on Texas barbecue alone. So
Oh shit!
again,
You're talking about barbecue and everything. Oh yeah.
so basically, sky's the limit.
Right. Like I said, drop some ideas. You can hit me up on Twitter at TX Horror Fest. Ideas, I'll pass them along to Dave. You can contact Dave however you do that, and let us know.
Exactly. So on that note, we're going to wrap it up. I'm Devious Dave Rose. I'm joined by my exalted guest, Tex. And
Sure.
we will. Any final words, Tex?
We'll see you on the next one.
All right. So we'll wrap it up. And as Tex